My name is Emma Carter. I'm 28 years old. And just a few weeks ago, I was supposed to be the happiest woman in Seattle. I was engaged to Justin Reynolds, 30. Brilliant. Kind. A software engineer who somehow saw through all my walls and made me believe in forever. We were on the brink of starting the life we dreamed about. Planning a wedding full of love and hope. But sometimes, the people closest to you don't just disappoint. They explode. They ruin. And that's exactly what happened the night of our engagement party. I want you to imagine a perfect evening, glass chandeliers sparkling. Soft jazz humming through the air. Laughter bubbling between friends and family gathered to celebrate. That was supposed to be our night. But instead, it became the night everything shattered. Right at the center of it all was my sister. Aubrey Carter, 25. A rising social media influencer whose world revolved around attention and control. She's never been subtle about her jealousy. Growing up, she was the wild card, magnetic and reckless. Stealing the spotlight without remorse. She craves approval like it's oxygen, and when she can't have it, she's dangerous. But even knowing her flaws, I never imagined she would cross a line like this. Not in front of everyone. Not on my night. The party was set at a stylish rooftop venue overlooking the Seattle skyline. The city lights twinkled beneath us like a sea of stars. And the night air carried a crisp, electric excitement. Justin was laughing with our friends. His hand warm and steady in mine. I wore the white dress I'd picked out weeks ago, simple, elegant, and for the first time in a long time. Il felt radiant. When Aubrey arrived, the room shifted. She was wearing a dress that screamed for attention, bold red. Skin tight. And impossible to ignore. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair falling in perfect waves. But it wasn't just her appearance. It was the way she scanned the crowd with cold, calculating eyes. Like a shark circling her prey. I tried to greet her with a smile. But her smirk was the only thing she returned. Aubrey has never liked me having anything close to happiness. She thrives on chaos. And tonight, I realized, she was ready to create a storm. As the night went on, I caught her making subtle, poisonous comments about Justin. "You sure he's the one?" she murmured to our mutual friends. She could do so much better. I laughed it off at first, thinking maybe she was just joking. Playing the usual sister games, but her eyes told me otherwise. It was hate. Pure and unfiltered. Then came the toast. I stood up. Glass in hand. Heart pounding with a mix of nerves and joy. I wanted to thank everyone for being there. To say how much Justin meant to me. And to celebrate what we were building together. The room fell quiet. Expectant. Just as I was about to finish, I felt the air shift again. Aubrey stood abruptly, knocking her glass against the table. The clink echoed like a gunshot. All eyes turned toward her. With a cruel smile, she raised her glass and said, "Here's to my sister settling for less. May your life be filled with mediocrity and regret." The room froze. The laughter died. The warm glow of celebration turned icy. I felt my cheeks burn, not with embarrassment, but with a furious, searing rage that tightened my chest and clenched my fists so hard my nails bit into my palms. Justin looked stunned, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Whispers started spreading like wildfire. Some guests looked away, others exchanged shocked glances. A few quietly slipped out. The air was thick with disbelief. I wanted to scream, to shout, to tear her apart right then and there. But all I could do was sit down. My vision blurred by tears I refused to shed. Later, away from the crowd, I confronted Aubrey. I wanted answers. Why? What could possibly make you say something so vile in front of everyone? She looked at me cold, unapologetic, and said, "I'm just telling the truth. You should thank me for my honesty. You'll thank me someday." Her words were a dagger. I wanted to believe she was joking, that this was some twisted performance. But I knew better. She meant every word. She wanted to hurt me, to sabotage the one happiness I'd fought so hard for. That night, I lay awake, the echo of her toast ringing in my ears. I thought about every moment leading to that devastating sentence. How could my own sister be my enemy? How did we get here? I remembered childhood birthdays she ignored. The countless times she competed for my parents' attention. The cruel jokes whispered behind closed doors. But this was beyond family drama. This was war. I thought about Justin's face. The way his eyes filled with confusion and pain. My heart broke for him and for myself. The next morning, Justin and I talked for hours. We weighed every possibility. Could we forgive? Could we pretend this never happened? But the truth was clear: if Aubrey couldn't support us now, she didn't deserve to be part of our wedding. Our day. Our life. I made the hardest decision of my life. We wouldn't invite her. When I told my parents, the fallout was immediate and brutal. My mother, Karen, pleaded for unity. Family is everything. Emma, you can't cut her out like this. You have to forgive. My father, Tom, was Keter but firm. You shouldn't have to tolerate cruelty on your wedding day. Protect your peace. But Karen's voice was loudest, echoing through every family conversation for weeks. Aubrey's supporters rallied. The family split. Lines were drawn. And Aubrey, she exploded online, broadcasting her version of the story with venom and tears. Painting me as the villain, the selfish bride who tore her family apart for no reason. Suddenly, my private pain was public spectacle. Our family, fractured and exposed. That's the story so far. But what happened next? How do you fight when your own blood turns on you? And the world watches. Stick with me, because this isn't just a story about a ruined engagement party. It's about betrayal, resilience, and the fight for dignity. It's about the moment you realize your happiness is worth defending, no matter the cost. Before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button and join me on this journey. Like and comment if you've ever had to stand up to someone you loved, or if you believe some battles are worth fighting, even when the war is within your own family. Trust me, the storm is just beginning. The morning after the party was suffocating. The house was quiet but charged, like the air before a storm breaks. I sat at the kitchen table, replaying Aubrey's words over and over in my mind, settling for less mediocrity and regret. How could she speak of me that way, my sister, the one who should have stood by me, not stabbed me in front of everyone? Justin was trying to be strong, but I saw the worry shadowing his face. His usual easy smile was gone. Emma, he said gently, you don't have to deal with this alone. And though his words were meant to comfort, the helplessness between us was real. We both knew this wasn't just about one awful night. It was the start of a war no one wanted but everyone seemed ready for. I called my parents. Mom answered, her voice carefully warm but tense. Emma, honey, this is family. You need to let it go. You can't burn bridges on your wedding day. He swallowed hard. Mom, this isn't something I can just ignore. She humiliated me in front of everyone. There was a long pause. I know. But family is complicated. We have to try to make this right. I wanted to scream. Why is it always me who has to fix everything? But I kept my voice steady. I can't be the one who forgives that. That call marked the beginning of a quiet battle. Over the next days, I felt the weight of every conversation. Every glance from relatives. Every comment whispered in hallways or typed behind screens. Some were sympathetic, others judgmental. Some called me cold. Others said I was strong. But no one really understood the hurt that twisted inside me. The raw ache of betrayal by someone who shared my blood. I spent hours scrolling through social media. Unable to look away from the storm Aubrey had unleashed online. The video of her toast was everywhere: clips, memes, shockwaves comments. The hate was both pointed at her and at me, splitting our circle into factions. It felt like we were being judged in a court with no jury. No justice. Only chaos. Amid the chaos, a message popped up on my phone. It was from Sophia, my best friend since college and now a lawyer. Emma, don't lose yourself in the noise. You're right to set boundaries. Toxic behavior deserves consequences. I'm here if you need anything. Her words were a lifeline, reminding me that I wasn't completely alone in this. Still, the hardest part was facing Justin. He tried to shield me from the worst of the family drama. But the strain was visible. He had never been involved in family feuds like this before. I caught him staring at his phone more than usual, his brow furrowed in worry. One evening, I found him scrolling through messages from my relatives, some supportive, others cutting, and I saw the tightrope he was walking between loyalty to me and his own sanity. Then came the calls from my parents. My mother was relentless. You have to invite Aubrey. It's not just about you and her. It's about the family's future. My father was more measured but firm in his advice. Emma, no one expects you to tolerate abuse. But consider what you want your wedding day to look like. That day, I realized I was caught between two worlds, the one I wanted peaceful, joyful, with everyone I loved, and the reality, where peace seemed impossible. One night, my phone buzzed with a text from Mark, my brother-in-law and Aubrey's brother-in-law. He was neutral ground, a family mediator if there ever was one. Emma, I get where you're coming from, but this feud is tearing us all apart. Can we talk? I hesitated but agreed. We met for coffee, and he listened carefully as I laid out everything: the party, the toast, the fallout. He sighed. Family loyalty is complicated. Sometimes, you have to choose your battles. His words hit me hard. Was this one I had to fight? Or one I had to walk away from? At work, the pressure built in a different way. I was a marketing manager, used to controlling campaigns and messaging. But this family drama was out of any professional playbook. Colleagues offered sympathetic smiles, but I felt exposed, as if my private life was a public spectacle. One day, during a meeting, my phone buzzed with a notification, a live stream. It was Aubrey, broadcasting directly from her apartment, venting about me and painting herself as the victim of a controlling sister. I watched, heart pounding, as she twisted the story, using tears and anger to rally her followers. The comments exploded. Some hateful, some supportive, but all hungry for drama. I felt trapped. The battlefield now, digital and merciless. I closed the phone with a trembling hand and buried my face in my arms. That night, I lay awake thinking about how this battle was far from over. The family was split. The wedding was at risk. And my own heart was breaking beneath the weight of it all. I kept coming back to the same question: how did we get here? And more importantly, how do I reclaim my happiness before it's too late? The silence of the house was shattered by my phone ringing. It was Justin. His voice was low, urgent. Emma, we need to talk. Something's happened. My breath caught. Whatever it was, I knew the fight was about to escalate even further. And this time, there would be no turning back. Justin's call sent a chill through me. I barely slept that night. Heart pounding, mind racing with every possible scenario. When we finally met the next morning at our favorite coffee shop, his face was grave, eyes shadowed with worry. I found something, he said quietly, sliding his phone across the table. It was a screenshot, a private message from Aubrey to a close friend, leaked in a group chat. The words stung like acid. This whole engagement is a joke. Emma's lucky I'm even here. I'm doing everyone a favor by exposing her. Justine deserved better. The betrayal wasn't just public, it was personal, intentional, calculated. I felt like the ground beneath me cracked open. How long had she been planning this? How many lies had she spun behind my back? The pain wasn't just about the humiliation anymore, it was about the broken trust. The invasion of my life by someone who was supposed to love me. Justin reached across the table, his hand warm, grounding me. Emma, we need a plan. This isn't just a family spat anymore. It's a war. And she's bringing the whole world into it. The weight of his words settled deep. I realized then that protecting my happiness meant more than just cutting Aubrey out, it meant fighting back, reclaiming my narrative, and setting boundaries that no one could cross. But how? That afternoon, I sat alone in our apartment. The city noise a distant hum. I pulled out my laptop and began documenting everything: the insults, the social media attacks, the texts. Every detail mattered. Sophia's words echoed in my mind. Information is power. Build your case carefully. As I typed, memories surfaced: childhood moments where Aubrey's jealousy simmered beneath smiles. The time she'd undermined me subtly. The way our parents always seemed to favor her outbursts as just her personality. I understood the pattern now. This wasn't just jealousy. It was an ongoing battle for attention and control, fueled by years of neglect and unresolved resentment. I called my parents again. This time, my father answered. His voice was softer, almost weary. Emma, your mother and I, we want to fix this. But Aubrey isn't easy to reason with. I felt a flicker of hope. Can you talk to her? Help her understand what this is doing to all of us. He hesitated. I'll try. But sometimes family damage runs deeper than words. Days turned into a whirlwind of calls, texts, and difficult conversations. Karen reached out, her tone conciliatory but tinged with frustration. Emma, you have to forgive. Weddings aren't worth tearing family apart. My reply was firm. Mom, forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring cruelty. I want peace, but not at the cost of my dignity. Meanwhile, Aubrey escalated. Her Instagram live sessions grew more frequent, each one dripping with bitter accusations and tearful confessions designed to sway public opinion. She painted herself as the victim of a controlling sister who wanted to erase her from the family. The comment sections were battleground, strangers taking sides. Some hateful, some sympathetic. I felt the walls closing in. Work became an escape. But even there, whispers followed me. I caught coworkers exchanging looks, wondering how the girl with the perfect engagement was unraveling in public. One day, my manager pulled me aside. Emma, if you need time off, just say the word. I shook my head. I can't stop now. I have to see this through. Amid the chaos, Justin was my rock. He stood beside me at every family dinner, every tense phone call. But I saw the toll it took on him too. He wasn't used to this kind of drama. And sometimes, when he thought I wasn't looking, his jaw clenched tight, his eyes distant. Then came the breaking point. Aubrey had somehow gotten hold of our wedding venue contract and posted it online, along with a scathing caption accusing me of lying and betrayal. The venue started receiving harassing calls and emails. Our wedding planner was overwhelmed with cancellations and questions. I stared at my phone in disbelief. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a full-blown attack. The woman who was supposed to be my sister had turned my dream day into a nightmare. That night, I broke down. Tears I'd held back for weeks spilled freely. Justin held me as I sobbed, whispering, "We'll get through this together." But even as I clung to hope, a new fear took root. Could we salvage the wedding? Could love really survive the wounds family inflicted? And was I ready to fight for it, no matter the cost? The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Aubrey win. Not anymore. I called Sophia. I need your help. It's time to stop reacting and start taking control. Her voice was steady. Good. Because the next steps require strategy and strength. And you've got both. As I hung up, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in weeks: resolve. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The moment I told Sophia I was ready to fight back, everything shifted. It was no longer about reacting to Aubrey's chaos, but about taking control of the narrative and protecting what mattered most: my future with Justin. Sophia became my strategic ally. And together, we mapped out a plan to dismantle the toxicity piece by piece. The first step was gathering undeniable evidence. We compiled every cruel message, every public humiliation, every social media post that painted Aubrey as the aggressor. Sophia explained the power of documentation. This is more than family drama now. This is harassment, defamation, and possibly grounds for legal action. Hearing those words sparked a fire inside me I hadn't felt in weeks. I started blocking toxic comments and reporting harmful posts. But the online battlefield was relentless. Each attempt to regain peace was met with fresh waves of cruelty. Yet, with every piece of evidence, I felt stronger, like I was reclaiming my story. Meanwhile, I reached out to trusted family members, my father, Tom, and my brother-in-law, Mark, to enlist their support. Their voices, once hesitant, grew firm. Mark met with Aubrey privately, trying to broker peace. But she refused to back down, her bitterness deep-rooted and fierce. Amid this, Justin and I focused on our wedding plans. We tightened security at the venue, limited guest lists, and carefully managed invitations. Each change was a shield against potential disruptions. But behind the scenes, the weight of family fractures pressed hard on my heart. One afternoon, an unexpected email landed in my inbox. It was from an anonymous sender with screenshots of private conversations between Aubrey and a mutual friend, revealing her plan to sabotage not only the wedding but my career and reputation. The messages detailed lies, manipulation tactics, and attempts to isolate me from friends and colleagues. I stared at the screen in disbelief. This wasn't just petty sibling rivalry, it was a calculated campaign to destroy me. I forwarded the evidence to Sophia, who immediately began drafting cease and desist notices and advised me on the possibility of pursuing a restraining order. The emotional toll was immense. I found myself vacillating between fury and exhaustion. Sometimes, late at night, I questioned if any of this was worth it. Could family ever heal after such betrayal? Was there even a point in trying to salvage broken bonds? Then came a moment that shook me to my core. Karen, my mother, reached out privately, her voice trembling over the phone. Emma, I'm scared. This isn't what I wanted for our family. Can we please find a way to stop this before it destroys us all? Her plea was raw, vulnerable. But I couldn't help feeling the sting of years of dismissiveness, the times she'd excused Aubrey's cruelty as just her personality, the silences when I needed her most. I wanted to comfort her, but the wounds ran deep. Mom, I want peace too, but it can't come at the cost of my sanity. I'm done being the family's punching bag. Days later, a surprise visit from Mark gave me fresh hope. He brought with him a box filled with old family photos and letters, reminders of a time before the fractures. Maybe it's not too late to heal, he said cautiously. But I wasn't so sure. Healing required change, real change, and I wasn't convinced that was possible without accountability. As the wedding day loomed, the tension inside and outside our circle was palpable. Invitations had been sent, but on Satensi Linga, would Aubrey show? Would family drama overshadow the vows? One evening, Justin and I sat quietly in our apartment, the Seattle skyline glittering beyond the window. I looked at him and saw not just my fiancé, but my partner in a battle I never wanted but couldn't avoid. Whatever happens, he said, taking my hand, we face it together. I nodded, feeling a surge of strength. For the first time in weeks, I believed we might actually make it through this nightmare. But just as I allowed myself a moment of hope, my phone buzzed again. Another alert. Another message. And this time, it wasn't just words, it was a threat. The threat was clear. Aubrey's message arrived just days before the wedding. A chilling promise that she wasn't finished, that she planned to expose me publicly in a way that would ruin everything. My chest tightened as I read her words, the weight of her malice pressing down like a storm ready to break. Justin and I sat together, the silence heavy but resolute. We can't let her win, he said firmly. This is about protecting our future, not just our wedding. I nodded, knowing that the fight had come to its ultimate test. With Sophia's guidance, we escalated our legal actions. The cease and desist letters were sent, and an emergency restraining order was filed. It felt surreal, turning family betrayal into a courtroom battle. But boundaries had to be drawn, and justice demanded it. As the wedding day dawned, the air was thick with anticipation and unease. The venue sparkled under a crisp spring sky, Guests arriving in elegant attire. Their faces a mixture of joy and tension. My heart raced. Every moment layered with the memories of the months leading here, the pain. The tears. The determination. My mother approached me quietly before the ceremony. Her eyes glistening. "Emma. I'm sorry. I see now what you've endured. You deserve happiness." The words pierced through the armor I'd built. I reached for her hand, holding it tightly. "Thank you, Mom. It's taken a long time. But I'm ready to move forward." The ceremony itself was breathtaking, a tapestry of love, resilience, and hope. Justin's vows spoke of unwavering support, of partnership forged in fire. As he repeated my promises, I felt a profound peace, a reclaiming of my story and my joy. Yet, even as we danced beneath the stars that evening, the shadows of the past lingered. Aubrey was absent. Then her place at the table forever empty. A stark reminder of the cost of broken bonds. In the weeks that followed, the legal proceedings unfolded. The evidence we had gathered, the messages, the posts, the witness testimonies painted a clear picture of harassment and defamation. The court ruled in our favor, issuing strict orders to protect us from further attacks. More than that, the process became a catharsis. I confronted not only Aubrey's actions but the deeper wounds within our family. The truth, though painful, began to mend old fractures and open paths toward healing. Looking back, I realized that my journey was never just about a wedding or a sister's betrayal. It was about finding my own voice, setting boundaries, and claiming the right to happiness on my own terms. To anyone watching who has faced betrayal, cruelty, or family drama, know this: your worth isn't defined by others' actions. You deserve respect, love, and peace. Sometimes, that means standing firm, fighting back, and choosing yourself. As for me and Justin, we continue to build our life together, stronger, wiser, and unshaken. The scars remain, but they are part of our story, a testament to resilience and the power of love. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. If you've ever faced something similar, or if this story resonated, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world, and your story matters. Remember, sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most beautiful victories. Story 2. I'm Rachel, and I've always stood out in my family, not because I did anything wrong, but because my success somehow turned me into the enemy. I grew up in a middle-class home where money was tight, so I worked my tail off to build a life of my own. I earned a scholarship to a top college, landed a lucrative job in finance, and now, at 32, I'm more comfortable than I ever imagined. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm secure. I own my home outright, travel whenever I like, and until recently sent my family a monthly allowance just to help them get by. I never expected thank you notes, but I certainly never dreamed they'd stab me in the back like this. I should have read the signs years ago. My mom always played favorites with my brother, Mark, the golden child who could do no wrong. He drifted from job to job, never owned up to anything, yet somehow was trying his best. Meanwhile, I was too serious about my career or acting like I thought I was better than everyone. My sister Lisa wasn't any kinder. She mastered the subtle passive-aggressive dig, always reminding me money doesn't buy happiness, while cashing my rent help checks without hesitation. And my dad, he simply went along with whatever my mom decreed, never standing up for me or calling out her blatant favoritism. Still, I showed up every holiday, gifts in hand, smiling at every dinner, footing the bill when anyone asked. I was there, foolishly believing that if I just kept giving, they'd finally accept me. Instead, they decided to show me exactly where I stood. It started at a holiday party, just a casual get-together at my parents' house. We were all sitting around the dining room table, plates filled with my mom's signature overcooked turkey, when I smiled and said, "I can't wait for the reunion tomorrow. It'll be nice to see everyone again." For a second, there was silence. Then Mark let out a short chuckle. What the reunion was yesterday. He blinked. What Lisa smirked. Sipping her wine like this was the most entertaining thing she'd seen all night. Yeah. It was yesterday. Didn't Mom tell you? I turned to my mother. Art pounding. You told me it was on the 23rd. She shrugged. Not even looking guilty. Oops. Must have gotten the dates mixed up. Mixed up. Mixed up. I wasn't some distant cousin. They forgot to call. I was their daughter. Their sister. And they had a whole family reunion without me. My aunt, who had been scrolling through her phone, held it up, showing me a picture. Everyone was there. My cousins. My uncles. My nieces and nephews. Mark. Lisa. My parents smiling. Laughing. Arms around each other and I hadn't even gotten a text. Mark grinned. Shaking his head. Dom. That's awkward. Guess we forgot to mention it. Lisa giggled. Oops. My bad. LOL, something inside me went ice cold. I put down my fork. Stood up and walked away from the table without another word. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked away. Because in that moment I knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't forgetfulness. They had done this on purpose and they were going to regret it. I walked out of the dining room. My footsteps steady. My breathing controlled. I didn't slam the door behind me. I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me lose my temper. Instead, I grabbed my coat from the hallway and stepped outside into the cold winter air, letting it bite at my skin as I processed what had just happened. They had planned this. They had all known my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. Every single one of them had looked me in the eye, smiled at me and let me sit there like an idiot while they laughed about forgetting to tell me. I pulled my phone from my pocket and scrolled through my messages. Nothing. No missed calls. No texts. Not even a half-assed wish you were here message. I wasn't even an afterthought. A dull ache settled in my chest. But I forced myself to push it down. I had spent years pretending their favoritism didn't bother me. That their little digs and cold shoulders didn't sting. But this was different. This was deliberate. This was them making a statement. I stared out at the quiet street, watching as snowflakes drifted down under the glow of the street lights. I should have just gotten in my car and left. Driven back to my house, and cut them out of my life right then and there. But I didn't because I wanted to see how far they would take this. After a few minutes, I forced myself to take a deep breath and turned back toward the house. The laughter inside continued as if nothing had happened. I pushed open the door and stepped back inside, hanging my coat up as if I had only stepped out for a breath of fresh air. My fingers were cold, but I didn't rub my hands together. I wanted the chill to settle into my bones, to remind me of what they had done. When I walked back into the dining room, my family barely acknowledged my return. My mother was slicing into a piece of pie. My father was refilling his glass of wine. And Lisa and Mark were whispering to each other. Grinning, I pulled my chair back out and sat down. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Thought you left? I met her face. My face unreadable. Why would I leave? It's just a silly mistake. Right, she gave me a slow, knowing smile. Of course. Just a little mix-up. Mark snickered. You're taking this way too seriously. It's not like we did it on purpose. I leaned back in my chair. You all had an entire family reunion. Everyone was there. You had to coordinate food, drinks, decorations. Someone had to organize a venue, set a date, send out invitations. But not one of you remembered to text me. I tilted my head slightly. You expect me to believe that? My mother sighed dramatically, as if I were the one being difficult. Rachel, don't be like this. It's the holidays. Let's not ruin the mood over a simple mistake. A simple mistake. I glanced around the table, watching the way they all avoided my eyes, waiting for me to just drop it and move on like I always did. I could feel the expectation in the air. This was the part where I was supposed to sigh, brush it off and pretend I wasn't hurt. That's what I had always done. Not this time. I picked up my fork, twirling it idly between my fingers. You know? I said, keeping my tone light. I've been thinking a lot about the monthly money I send you. All that got their attention. Lisa sat up a little straighter. My mother's eyes flickered with something close to panic. My father, who had been silent up until now, finally looked up from his plate. What about it? Mark asked. The suspicion in his voice. Unmistakable. I set my fork down gently. I just think it's interesting. I helped pay Lisa's rent. When she falls behind, I cover mom and dad's medical bills. I even send Mark money when he needs a little extra for whatever it is he does these days. I let the words settle before adding. And yet, somehow I wasn't important enough to be invited to the family reunion. Silence. Lisa forced out a laugh. But it was nervous now. Oh, come on. You're not actually mad about this. Are you? I didn't answer. Mark, on the other hand, scoffed. Look. You're acting crazy. It was just a mix-up. Rachel. Nobody's out to get you. And besides, he added, waving his fork in the air, you're doing fine. It's not like you need the reunion. You've got your fancy job. Your nice house. Your perfect little life. Oh. There it was. The jealousy. The bitterness. The resentment that had been bubbling under the surface for years. Disguised as jokes hidden behind backhanded compliments. I smiled. But there was no warmth in it. You're right. Mark. I do have a great life. Lisa gave me a sharp look. Rachel. Don't be petty. I let out a soft hum of amusement. Petty, you mean like throwing an entire family reunion and conveniently forgetting to invite me? No one spoke. Then Mark rolled his eyes. Oh my God. You are so dramatic. You always have to act like a victim. Don't you? He shoved another bite of food into his mouth. Shaking his head. Whatever. You'll get over it. Just like you always do. I watched him chew, a smirk playing on his lips like he had already won. Like they had all won. And that's when he said it. Besides, he added, wiping his mouth with a napkin, I already ordered those new Jordans with the money you send me every month. You wouldn't actually cut us off over something this stupid. Right. The room went deadly quiet. My mother's eyes widened. Her fork hovering mid-air. Lisa Stefana. My father cleared his throat. Awkwardly. Pretending to focus on his plate. Mark. Oblivious. Just grinned. I mean. Come on. You wouldn't do that to your family. And just like that, the decision was made. I set my napkin down. Folded my hands neatly in my lap. And smiled. Wouldn't I? Mark's grin faltered. He blinked at me, waiting for me to laugh it off. To wave my hand and tell him I was just joking. But I wasn't joking. The silence stretched heavy and suffocating as realization settled over the table. My mother opened her mouth. Then closed it. Lisa shifted in her seat. Her fingers tightening around her fork. Even my father, usually content to stay out of these things, finally looked up and met my gaze with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mark, on the other hand, scoffed. Oh. Come on. He said, his voice dripping with forced confidence. You're not actually serious. I tilted my head slightly, watching him squirm. You think I keep sending you money? I said slowly. After you all pulled this. Lisa forced out a short, nervous laugh. Rachel. You're being ridiculous. You know Mark didn't mean it like that. Oh. I leaned forward slightly, resting my elbows on the table. Then how did he mean it? Mark let out an exasperated sigh and tossed his napkin onto the table. Jesus. You were so sensitive. You're acting like we murdered your dog or something. We just forgot. Okay. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. I nodded thoughtfully. Right. Just a little mistake. My mother jumped in. Then. Her voice saccharine. Sweet. Rachel. Honey. We love you. You know that. We're family. She reached across the table. placing her hand over mine. Let's not let a simple misunderstanding ruin that. I stared at her hand. Then at her face. The carefully constructed mask of motherly concern. The same mask she had worn every time she had dismissed my feelings. Every time she had brushed off their favoritism like I was the one imagining things. And I realized something right then and there. They weren't sorry. Not for what they had done. Not for how they had treated me. They were sorry because I was finally standing up for myself. I pulled my hand away. You know I'm used. I wonder how different this conversation would be if I didn't send you all money every month. My father cleared his throat. Rachel, I held up a hand. No. Really, would any of you even be trying to smooth this over? If I weren't your personal bank account? No one answered. Lisa had the audacity to look offended. That's not fair. We care about you. I let out a soft laugh. You care about what I can do for you. Mark rolled his eyes. Oh my God. Here we go again. You always have to play the victim. Maybe we didn't invite you because we didn't want to deal with this exact kind of drama. I arched an eyebrow. Then you won't have to deal with it anymore. The tension in the air shifted. My mother's expression flickered with unease. My father looked down at his plate, pretending to be uninterested. But I saw his fingers tighten around his fork. Lisa's mouth pressed into a thin line and Mark just laughed. Oh. Please. You're not going to cut us off. You're too nice for that. I smiled. I guess you'll find out. Mark's face fell. I stood up, smoothing my dress, and grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. The whole table watched me like I was about to detonate a bomb. Rachel. My mother said, her voice edging toward panic. Now. Don't be rash. We're family. You don't just turn your back on family. I turned to look at her. My expression unreadable. You all turned your backs on me a long time ago. With that, I walked toward the door. Wait. Lisa blurted out, scrambling to her feet. You're not actually serious. Right. You're not really cutting us off. I opened the front door. The cold air rushed in, cutting through the warm, suffocating air of the house. I looked over my shoulder. My voice calm, almost casual. Enjoy the shoes, Mark. And then I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I barely made it to my car before my phone started buzzing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Lisa ignored. Then surprise. Surprise. Mark. I smirked to myself, shaking my head as I climbed into the driver's seat. That didn't take long. I wasn't even out of the driveway when the first text came in. Okay. Very funny. You made your point. Can you send the money? Now I rolled my eyes and put my phone on silent. The drive home was peaceful for the first time in years. I felt a strange sense of freedom. I didn't have to play the role of the nice one anymore. The one who always forgave. Always gave. Always put up with their nonsense. I was done. But they were just getting started. By the time I got home, my phone had exploded with messages. Lisa had sent. Rachel. Don't be so dramatic. Family is family. Mom said you don't mean this. We raised you better than this. That. Uncharacteristic brief. Just sent. Call your mother. And then there was Mark, who had sent far too many messages for someone who supposedly didn't care. At first, it was the usual Mark nonsense. Mocking. Condescending. Assuming I'd cave. Like always. You're really cutting us off over this. Unreal. Then another. What are you going to do? Spend all your money on candles and fancy pillows? Come on. Then a final jab. Fine. Be petty. Whatever. Then the shift happened. Hey. Okay. Listen. I kind of need that money. Like soon. I smirked. Here we go. I ordered some stuff, expecting you to send it this month. Oh. Now he was admitting it. It's not just the shoes. I may have also gotten a new television. I raised an eyebrow. And a PS5 and a laptop. But I had it all planned out. Your transfer was supposed to come in today. Rach. Come on. I took a slow sip of my tea. Scrolling further. You're seriously not answering. This isn't funny. They're going to charge my car tomorrow. Rachel. I don't have the money to cover it. Do you want me to go into debt? I nearly choked on my tea. Oh. This was gold. Mark wasn't just inconvenienced. He was in real trouble. For years, he had lived with this smug confidence, knowing I'd always come through. Always help. He had spent money you didn't have because he assumed I would keep paying. And now he was desperate. A notification popped up. Incoming call from Mark. I let it ring. Then another. And another. Then a message. Short and to the point. Pick up the phone. I sat back, watching my screen. A slow grin forming on my face. For the first time ever, I was the one in control. They thought I'd just roll over. That I'd let them gaslight me into believing it was my fault. That I was being unreasonable. But they forgot one very important thing. I was done being the family's ATM and Mark. Mark was about to learn exactly what that meant. I put my phone down and stretched out on the couch, feeling more relaxed than I had in years. Let them squirm. Let them panic. I wasn't their safety net anymore. And they were about to feel what that really meant. Mark had always been reckless with money. But this was something else. He had gone ahead and racked up a bunch of charges on his credit card, fully expecting me to cover them like I always had. And now that I wasn't playing along, he was spiraling. I scrolled through his messages again, shaking my head. A new television A5. A laptop. And that was on top of the expensive shoes he'd already mentioned earlier. How much did he actually spend knowing Mark? He'd probably gone for the top-of-the-line versions of everything, assuming it didn't matter because I was footing the bill. But now the reality was hitting him hard. I put my phone on silent and turned on the television, ready to enjoy my evening. But before I could even pick something to watch, my phone lit up again. Another call from Mark. Then another. And another. He was relentless. I ignored them all. But then after a few minutes, my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Rachel. Call your brother now. I scoffed. Oh. Now she cared. Funny how that worked. Then another one. This is serious. He's in trouble. You need to help him. I took my time finishing my drink before even considering a response. Then a message from Lisa. Okay. Look. I get that you're mad. But you've made your point. Can you just send the money now? He's freaking out. I grinned. They were starting to crack. Then Mark again. Rachel. If you don't send the money tonight, I'll be in trouble. Do you get that I can't pay for this? Oh. I got it all right. I let another 15 minutes pass. The messages kept coming. Then finally one that really made me laugh. Rachel. Please. Oh. There it was. The desperation. I let that one sit unanswered for another 10 minutes before finally picking up the phone and calling Mark. You picked up on the first ring. Finally. Rachel. What the hell? You've been ignoring me all night. I leaned back on the couch. Oh. I saw your messages. I was just busy. Busy doing what? Relaxing. He made a sound of pure frustration. Rachel. You don't get it. I know. Mark. You don't get it. My voice was calm, but firm. You assumed I'd keep paying for you. You didn't even ask. You just went ahead and spent money you didn't have because you thought I'd be there to bail you out again. There was silence on the other end. Then he scoffed. Oh, come on. You're really this mad over some dumb reunion? It was a mistake. We forgot to tell you. Big deal. But now you're punishing me for it. That's insane. I shook my head. No. Mark. This isn't about the reunion. It's about the fact that I'm done. Done. Being treated like a walking wasn't done being lied to. Done being used. His voice rose used. Oh my God. Rachel. You're so dramatic. You're acting like we're stealing from you. We're family. You have money. It's not like it's a big deal to you. There it was. The entitlement. The expectation. The sheer audacity of it. I let out a short laugh. Wow. You really don't see it. Do you? See what? That you're being completely unreasonable. No. That I don't know you anything. I was helping because I wanted to. But now I don't want it anymore. You can't be serious. He breathed. Rachel. You can't do this. I already spent the money. I can't just return everything. Not my problem. I said simply. You don't get it. He snapped. They're going to charge my card at midnight. If I don't have the money, my account is going to overdraft. You're just going to let that happen. I was quiet for a moment, letting his panic settle in. Then I spoke. My voice calm. Yes. I am. He let out a strangled laugh like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Rachel. Rachel, come on. Just this one last time. Just send it and I swear I'll never ask again. He said. That's what you said last time. And the time before that. In the time before that. This is different. No, it's not. It's exactly the same. You made a reckless decision. Thinking I'd clean up your mess. But I'm not doing that anymore. Rachel, his voice cracked slightly. Please. I almost felt a twinge of sympathy. Almost. But then I remembered every time I'd been dismissed. Every time they'd laughed at me. Every time they treated me like an outsider in my own family. I stood firm. You'll figure it out. I said. Good luck. Then I hung up. Within seconds. My phone started buzzing again. I ignored it. Then a message from Lisa. What did you just say to him? He's freaking out. I didn't answer then. Mom. Rachel. You were being cruel. He's your brother. You have to help him. No, I didn't. And finally, another message from Mark. You're going to regret this. I smiled. Turned off my phone and went to bed. Let him panic. Let them all panic because for once, I wasn't the one losing sleep over it. The next morning I woke up to a ridiculous amount of missed calls and messages. Mark. Lisa. Mom. One after another. All trying to get me to cave. But I had already made my decision. I wasn't backing down. I took my time getting out of bed. Made myself a nice breakfast. And scrolled through my messages while sipping my coffee. Most of them were the same. Guilt-tripping. Whining and demands. But then I saw something new. Rachel. I swear to God. If you don't send the money, I'll come to your house myself. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. A threat now. Then another message. This one from Mom. Mark is on his way over. Please just talk to him. I set my cup down inside. So that was how they wanted to play it. Fine. Let's play. About an hour later. Just as I was finishing up some work. My doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. I opened the door to find Mark standing there looking like an absolute mess. His hair was disheveled. His shirt was wrinkled. And there were dark circles under his eyes. He had clearly not slept. Rachel. He said. Trying to keep his voice steady. We need to talk. I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe. Talk about what I thought I made myself pretty clear last night. His jaw tightened. Look. I messed up. Okay, but I need you to help me out this one time. One time I tilted me head. You mean just like last time, and the time before that? His hands clenched into fists. Come on. You have the money. It wouldn't even hurt you. I let out a short laugh. That's the problem. Mark. You think my money is your safety net. That it's just something you're entitled to, but it's not. He let out a frustrated sigh. Running a hand through his hair. Rachel. I don't have time for this. The charges are hitting my account today. I stared at him. Mark. I just want you to take responsibility for once in your life. His face twisted into something ugly. This is because of the reunion. Isn't it? You're being petty over a stupid party. I laughed again. Oh. Trust me. Mark. This is about a lot more than just that. He was breathing heavily now. Like he was barely holding himself together. So you're really not going to help me? Nope. His hands clenched at his sides. His nostrils flaring. Then. As if something in him snapped. He hissed. "You're just a selfish brat. You think you're better than us because you have money? Newsflash. Rachel. You're not. You'll always just be the pathetic little sister who had to buy her way into respect. And when you finally lose all that money, don't come crawling back to us because we won't care." I didn't even flinch. I just smiled. "Good to know. Mark. Now get off my property." He stood there, glaring at me, waiting for me to cave. But I didn't. After a few 10s, he let out a bitter laugh and turned to leave. "Fine. Whatever. Don't help me. But don't expect this to be over." I watched as he stormed off, muttering under his breath as he got into his car. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. "Rachel. What did you do? Mark is furious." I shook my head and shut the door, sending a final message to my family. "I'm done. Don't ever ask me for money again." It felt final. I hit send, turned off my phone and went on with my day. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. The following days were quieter. My family didn't reach out anymore. And for a while it was like they just accepted that I wasn't coming back to the role. They'd always put me in their ATM. Their backup plan. Their easy way out. I didn't hear from Mark or Lisa. It was a relief. But also a bit strange. A week passed and then another. I didn't even think about them that much. I focused on my work, my life, and doing things for myself. Then one night I got a message from Mark. "I messed up. I don't know what to do. Please. Rachel. Help me." I stared at it for a moment, feeling no rush to reply. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't frustrated. I had simply moved on. I deleted the message without responding. The next day I went about my routine completely unbothered. And in that moment, I realized that for the first time in my life, I was living for myself. No guilt. No expectations. Just me. And that was exactly how I wanted it to stay. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Story 3. Hey. This has been eating at me for a while. So I'm finally getting it off my chest. The whole situation with my family was infuriating and I never imagined it would blow up like this. Honestly, I'm still in shock. Buckle up. Because you're not going to believe this one. I'm Oliver, the older brother. Growing up, I was always the one doing the heavy lifting while my kid brother, Liam, somehow got away with murder. I'm 26 now. Working a standard 9 to 5. Still figuring things out, but I've always been the responsible one. And you know what I didn't mind? I was raised to believe hard work pays off. Even if it's a slow climb. Liam, on the other hand, absolutely loathes effort. He's a master manipulator. Somehow, he always gets whatever he wants on a silver platter. New gadgets, check. Designer clothes, check. Surprise vacations, check. Meanwhile, I'm stuck with the chores, cleaning the house, running errands, handling the stuff they didn't feel like dealing with. Our parents, Mom and Dad, were a lot stricter with me. You have to earn your keep. They'd say, life isn't going to hand you anything. That was their mantra. I get wanting me to be level-headed and dependable, fine. But it felt like they only cared about my achievements when it suited them. If something needed doing, it was always me they came to. Liam could break a vase, and they'd tell him it was no big deal. I lost my keys once, and they treated me like I'd committed a felony. I'll never understand why I had to prove myself so relentlessly while Liam coasted. But I learned to accept it for a while. Because hey, as long as the bills were paid, the house was in order, and their golden boy was living his dream, I was happy to stay in the shadows. At least, that's what I told myself. If there was a big decision to be made, I had to take the lead. But when it came to Liam, he was treated like some kind of prince. No matter what he did, it was always like he could do no wrong. This dynamic was something I learned to deal with over the years. Sure, I didn't get all the flashy things, but I had something they didn't. Independence. I had a job at 16. I worked my way through school and I've always managed to keep things together. But Liam, he never lifted a finger. It drove me crazy seeing how they'd bend over backwards for him. But things really started to hit the fan around his graduation. It was a big deal for our parents. They made it out to be some kind of grand achievement. Liam had barely passed his classes. I mean, he scraped by. He never put in the effort. But they were so proud of him. And what did I get? Well, you'll find out the day of the graduation celebration. We had a small family gathering. Nothing extravagant. But they sure made it sound like the world was watching. They had a cake with his name on it. Balloons everywhere and all sorts of decorations. It was as if this was the most important day of the year. And for them, I guess it was. I don't want to sound bitter. But it's hard not to when you've been in my position. It was like they were so focused on Liam that they didn't even consider the things I'd done. I kept things running smoothly around the house. I helped pay bills when Dad's job didn't cover everything. I dealt with the grocery shopping, the laundry, and all the other stuff that comes with keeping a household together. And then came the presents. Liam had gotten his shiny new car. A present our parents had barely been able to afford. In fact, I later found out they had taken out a loan to cover the cost. I wasn't angry about the car itself. But the fact that they couldn't afford it yet they still went ahead and bought it for him. Well, that part stung. Especially when they barely acknowledged the sacrifices I'd made. Then it was my turn. I tried to push the feelings aside. I didn't want to be that guy. The one who complains just because he doesn't get a shiny gift. But what I got was, to put it lightly, a slap in the face. I sat down on the couch, waiting for my turn, trying to hide the anxiety bubbling up inside me. It was like I already knew what was coming. Mom smiled at me. But it wasn't the warm, loving smile I was used to. It felt different. Almost condescending in a way. "Oliver," she said. Her voice soft. Almost too sweet. "We know you're so responsible. And we just wanted to make sure you have what you need for your future. We thought this would be practical." I tried to smile back, trying to mask the frustration building inside me. I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But I was already bracing myself for disappointment. I had to keep it together. That handed me a small box. It felt light. And when I opened it, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Inside the box was a stack of household cleaning supplies, paper towels, sponges, dish soap, and the like. My heart sank. There were no words. No words from me at least. I stared at the contents for a few seconds. My mind trying to process it. "Mom. Dad." I started. But my voice faltered. "What is this?" Dad chuckled, slapping his knee. "Well, Oliver. Now you can be even more useful around the house. You've always been so responsible. And this is just another way to show how much you contribute." He blinked, trying to understand. Was this a joke, Liam? Sitting next to me, was grinning ear to ear. He looked at me with a smug, almost mocking expression. "Yeah. Ollie. Now you can keep things nice and clean. You always seem to be the one doing the chores anyway." My stomach churned. I knew this was going to be bad. But I didn't expect it to sting this much. They were giving my brother a brand new car. A car and me cleaning supplies. I swallowed hard. But my throat felt tight. Like I was choking on something I couldn't quite name. I stood up. Not wanting to sit there any longer. Not wanting to look at the pile of cleaning supplies in front of me. "I'm going to head out for a bit," I said. My voice cold. "I need some air." Without waiting for a response, I grabbed my jacket, packed a bag and left the house. I didn't know what I was hoping for. But I didn't want to be there anymore. I could hear my parents calling after me. But I didn't look back. I don't know how long I walked that night. But it felt like hours. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. Not really caring where I was going. It wasn't until I reached a small bench near the park that I finally stopped to sit down. My mind racing. I should have been furious. And I was. But I was also tired. Tired of always being the responsible one. Tired of being the one to do everything right. only to get ignored or dismissed. I took out my phone, scrolling through a few messages from friends, trying to distract myself from the mess that had just happened. I didn't even want to go back home. But where else could I go? The house was all I had. Even though it felt more like a prison than a place of comfort. I finally decided to call a cab to take me to a friend's place, just to get some space. When I got there, I told my friend Jake everything that happened. Jake listened quietly, but I could see the frustration in his eyes. He knew what I'd been going through with my family. "You don't deserve that, Oliver," Jake said. "You've been busting your ass for years. And then they just keep using you. You're not a damn mate." I let out a sigh, feeling the weight of the past few years hit me all over again. I don't know what to do anymore. I've given everything to them and Liam. He doesn't appreciate anything he's spoiled. And it's like they think he can do no wrong. Jake was quiet for a moment. And then he said something I hadn't really thought about. "Why don't you leave for real? Go get a job. Start over somewhere else. You don't need them. Man. You've got this." It hit me like a ton of bricks. He was right. I didn't have to stick around. I didn't have to keep being their backup plan. The one they turned to when they needed help. It was hard to imagine leaving everything behind. But in that moment, it felt like it might be the only way to break free. I spent the night at Jake's. And when I woke up, I knew what I had to do. It wasn't just about the gift anymore. It was about my entire life. About the way my parents treated me, compared to Liam. So I packed a bag, grabbed what I needed, and went to my parents' house to let them know I was leaving. They weren't home at the time, which only made the whole situation feel even more like I was walking away from a chapter one could never go back to when they got back. It didn't take long for them to realize something was off. I was halfway through the process of packing up my things when I heard their car pull into the driveway. My heart skipped a beat as the front door creaked open. "Oliver." My mom's voice echoed down the hallway, sounding surprised. "Where are you going?" I walked into the living room, holding my back. "I'm leaving, Mom." What? Her voice faltered. "Where are you going? You can't just leave like this." I kept my tone steady, but I could feel the tension building. "I've been carrying this family for too long. It's time for me to go. You and Dad don't need me." "Not really. You've always had Liam for everything else." The look on her face was one of disbelief. Like she couldn't process what I was saying. "Oliver. You know. We depend on you. You've been so helpful. And now this. This is the thanks we get." I didn't let her guilt trip me this time. "I've been helpful because you've never given me a choice. You've always expected me to clean up after everyone. Liam does whatever he wants. And you keep giving him everything. Well, I'm done." Dad stepped into the room, looking almost confused. "What do you mean you're done? You're going to leave the family? After everything we've done for you? You've done nothing for me." "Dad?" I replied, keeping my voice calm. "Liam gets a car and I get cleaning supplies. That's how much I mean to you." Mom's face twisted into something close to panic. "You don't understand. We've been making sacrifices for your future. You're not seeing the bigger picture." I shook my head. "No. Mom. I'm done seeing the bigger picture. You've never seen me. You've only seen what you can use me for. But I'm not doing this anymore." I turned to leave. But Liam stepped into the doorway. A smug expression plastered on his face. "Wow. Allie leaving already? Yes. You can't handle the family spotlight. I mean, I just got a brand new car for graduation. What do you have?" "A bag of cleaning supplies." He laughed and I could feel my blood boiling. "Shut up, Liam," I said through gritted teeth. "You don't have a clue." Mon Shatimaglari. But then turned back to me, her voice a bit more frantic. "Where are you even going to go? You can't just leave us like this." I didn't answer her immediately. I simply walked out the door, leaving everything behind. It wasn't until I was in the cab, heading to a small apartment I'd rented that same morning, that I felt the weight of what I'd just done for the first time in years. I felt free. The following year was a blur. I found a 9-to-5 job in sales just to keep things steady. But my real plan was always the side hustle. It took time. A lot of hard work and plenty of late nights. But after a few months, I started seeing the results. I was making money online. Not just a little, but enough to start thinking bigger. I was no longer dependent on my family. No longer living in the shadow of my brother. But as I started to succeed, that's when the call started. I had gone from living paycheck to paycheck, relying on my parents, to a self-sufficient adult with financial freedom. I wasn't a millionaire yet, but the sense of independence and control over my life was worth more than anything. It felt like a huge victory. Every time I checked my bank balance, seeing the numbers climb. But of course, as my success grew, so did the need for my family to reach out. It all started with a text from my mom. At first it was casual. She was trying to sound like everything was normal. "Hey, Oliver. How's the new place? I hope you're settling in well. Have you been able to keep busy with work?" I could tell this was a thinly veiled attempt to see if I bite and talk about what I was doing. So I responded, keeping it simple and vague. "I'm doing well. Work's keeping me busy. But it's going good." That was it. A couple of days went by before I heard from her again. This time it wasn't just a check-in. The tone was different. "Oliver, your dad and I have been thinking. We're really proud of you. You've always worked hard. And we just wanted to tell you that we're here for you no matter what." I could feel the tension in her words. It was almost like they were testing the waters, hoping to open the door for something more. I knew exactly what they wanted, but I kept my reply neutral. "Thanks, Mom. Yeah, appreciate it." A week later, I got another message. This time it wasn't from her, but from Liam. "Hey, Ollie. Hope you're doing all right. I know things are a bit tense between us, but I just wanted to check in. How's work going? I've been thinking about you." Liam. Thinking about me. That was new. He had never cared about anything except himself. I didn't want to be petty, but I also didn't want to pretend like everything was fine. So I replied with the same vague answer I'd given Mom: everything good, work's going well, and I'm staying busy. A couple of days later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my mom calling. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Hello, Oliver. Honey. It's Mom," she said, sounding almost sweet. "I hope you're doing well. Your dad and I were just talking. We were wondering if you could come by soon. We really miss you. You know, it's not the same without you here." My stomach dropped. It felt like a trap. They hadn't missed me before. At least not in the way they were claiming. It had been months since I left. And all of a sudden they wanted to act like they cared. I could practically hear the desperation in her voice. "I don't know, Mom," I said, trying to sound neutral but not giving in. "I've got a lot going on here. Things are different." She was quiet for a second, and I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. I waited for her response, knowing this was coming. "Well, it's just that with everything that's been going on, we've been struggling a little. You know, with your brother's car and all. And with the bills stacking up. It's been a lot for us lately. We could really use your help." There it was. I knew it. They had been in debt, taking out loans to buy Liam his car. And now they were struggling to keep up. They hadn't thought of how they would manage long term. And suddenly they were remembering. I existed. But it wasn't because they were concerned about me. It was because they needed something. My heart tightened. "I don't know what you expect from me, Mom. I'm not coming back. I've built my life here." I heard her voice falter. "We know you're doing well, Oliver. We just thought you could help us out a little. That's all. Just to get back on our feet." I didn't respond right away. I was processing what she was saying. How easily they expected me to just drop everything, return to the house and fix their mess. "Listen, Mom. I'm not coming back. You and Dad have made your choices. You decided to put everything into Liam. You can't just come to me when things get hard. You can't expect me to fix it." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then finally my mom spoke. Her voice almost pleading. "Oliver. Please. We've made mistakes. But we're trying. We really need you. I wasn't sure what I felt anymore. Anga. Sympathy. Resentment. A mix of all of those. I had worked so hard to get away from that place. And now they were trying to manipulate me into coming back to be their backup once again. I can't help you, I said, feeling my resolve solidify. I've worked too hard for this. I'm not going to put myself back in that situation. That was the first of many calls. They came more frequently over the next few weeks. Each time more desperate. Mom and Dad. Each with their own version of pleading. Reminding me how much they needed me. How much they'd sacrificed for me. They even mentioned Liam talking about how his grades were slipping now that he had the car. And how he couldn't handle the pressure of adult life. But every time I refused. They pushed harder until the call stopped coming. The silence was almost worse than the constant begging. I knew they were upset. I knew they were angry. But that didn't stop me from living my life. Then one day, I got a message from Liam. This time it was different. It wasn't just about checking in or saying he missed me. It was a cry for help. Oliver. I need you to help me. Things are getting out of hand. Dad's been really upset lately. And Mom. She doesn't know what to do. We're in serious trouble. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure if I should even reply. What did you want from me? What was he trying to pull? Finally, after a few minutes, I decided to send a short reply. What do you want from me? Liam, his response came quickly and the urgency in his words was clear. I'm serious, Allie. We're in debt. We can't handle the car payments. I don't know who else to turn to. I could feel my heart sink. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was about a family falling apart. And Liam, the one who'd been handed everything on a silver platter, was finally realizing how bad things had gotten. I sat there for a moment, staring at the message on my phone, my fingers twitching with frustration. Then I typed out a reply. Liam, you don't get it. Do you? This isn't my problem. The words were harsh. But I felt like I needed to say it. It wasn't just about money or material things anymore. It was about principles. I wasn't going to be their fallback. Their savior. They'd put me in a position where I was the one who had to sacrifice everything. I wasn't going to let them do it again. I stared at the screen for a few more seconds before I added more. You and Dad put yourselves in this mess. I told you guys when I left. I was done. I'm not coming back to fix things for you. Don't ask me to. I stared at the message, feeling a strange sense of relief. I had to stand my ground. There was no way I was going to let them guilt trip me into coming back. Just as I hit send, my phone rang. It was from my mom. The last thing I wanted to do was talk to her right now. But the call kept ringing and it seemed like I was going to have to face it. I picked up with a deep sigh. Hello. Oliver. She started. And I could already hear the crack in her voice. She was trying to keep her composure. But the desperation was obvious. I don't know what to do. You need to come back. Your dad, he's not handling things well. He's been so upset. Ollie. I'm just worried about him and Liam. Well, he's not doing well at all. His grades are slipping. He doesn't know how to manage everything. It's just getting worse. He clenched me off. My patience wearing thin. Mom. I don't care about their problems. I have my own life now. I told you I wouldn't come back. You chose to spoil Liam and ignore me for years now. When things are hard, you want me to drop everything and fix it. No. There was silence on the other end of the phone. I could tell she was hurt by my words. But I wasn't about to apologize. Not this time. Mom. You need to figure this out on your own. Y continue. My voice growing more firm. I'm not responsible for your financial mistakes. I'm not your backup. Her voice trembled. I'm not asking you to fix everything. Oliver. We just thought maybe you could help us out just a little. It's hard. And we don't know who else to turn to. I could feel my temper rising. You thought you could just ignore me when I needed help, and now that you're struggling, you think I owe you? What happened to your perfect family that didn't need me? The one where everything was supposed to be fine. As long as Liam had everything handed to him. Her voice cracked. It's not like that. Ollie. We've made mistakes. But we're trying to do better now. Please just come home. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. I'm not coming back. And I'm certainly not going to keep bailing you out. You can't just call me when it's convenient for you. You made your choice. Oliver. Please. She started. But I interrupted. No. I've heard this all before. I'm not your solution. You want to fix things. Start with Liam. He's the one who's got the luxury car. The one who's never worked a day in his life. You want to know what adulting looks like? Stop using me as your crutch and figure it out yourself. I could hear her sobbing now. The tears coming through in her words. You don't understand. Ollie. You don't understand how hard it's been. Please. I felt a pang of guilt in my chest. But I pushed it away. I couldn't let myself fall back into their trap. I understand perfectly. I said. My voice hardening. But I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to put my life on hold to fix yours. You need to face the consequences of your choices. I hung up before she could say anything else. Letting out a long breath. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. But from the frustration that had been building up over the last few months. They had always seen me as someone who could be manipulated. Someone who could be pushed into action whenever they needed me. But not anymore. I knew it wouldn't be the end of it. I knew they'd try again. My mom had always been persistent when she needed something. And my dad was the type to sulk and try to guilt trip me. But I wasn't going to give in. I had worked too hard to get to where I was. And I wasn't going to let them drag me back into that life. About a week later, as I was getting ready to leave work, I saw a notification pop up on my phone. It was from my dad. We've been talking and we've made some changes. We're sorry for how things have been. Your mom and I. We just want to help you. We miss you. And we need you. Please. Oliver. Come home. Let's fix things. We'll work together. I stared at the message. My heart hammering in my chest. I wasn't sure what to feel. A part of me wanted to be angry. But the other part of me wondered if they truly meant it. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I sat there in my apartment, replaying everything in my mind the way they had treated me. How they had never shown a fraction of the supposed love when I needed it. Now, after everything, they were suddenly begging for my help. I wasn't buying it. A few days passed and I didn't hear from them again. I started to think they might have finally given up. Maybe they had learned their lesson. Maybe they realized that they could no longer rely on me. That I wasn't their emotional bank account. Their last resort. Then another message came. But this time it wasn't from my mom or dad. It was from Liam. You're really going to leave us hanging like this? What's the point of family if you don't help when we need it? You've been selfish. We're struggling. And you're just going to let us drown. I thought you were better than this. There it was again. The manipulation. The guilt. The same old tactics. I wasn't surprised that it was Liam. This time, he had always been the one to play the victim when things didn't go his way. The one who thought the world should revolve around him. But this time, I wasn't going to let it work. I sat down, typing out my response slowly, making sure every word hit the mark. You don't get it. Liam. I'm not your backup. And I'm not your savior. You're the one who always gets everything handed to you. And now that things aren't perfect, you want to blame me for your problems. I don't know you. Anything. You're grown just like I am. It's time you learn to stand on your own 2 feet. You've had your life handed to you on a silver platter. And now you want me to come back and fix everything. That's not how this works. Don't ever contact me again. Unless you're ready to be honest about what you've done. I hit send. My finger trembling slightly. I'd never been more sure of a decision in my life. But that wasn't the end of it. A few weeks later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't pick it up. But something told me I had to. When I answered, it was my dad on the other end. Oliver. We know we messed up. He said. His voice more fragile than I'd ever heard it. Your mom and I. We've been trying to fix things, and we're sorry we were wrong. We don't want you to think we only care about what you can do for us. We want our family back. We want you back. The words hit me harder than I expected. There was a part of me that wanted to believe them. To think that maybe, just maybe, they were truly sorry. But the logical part of my mind reminded me of everything they had done to me. How they had taken me for granted. Used me. Manipulated me into being the one to clean up their messes. I had been their backup plan for far too long and I was done. I'm not coming back. Dad. I said. My voice steady. Not now. Not ever. You've had your chance and you've used it all up. You can't just expect me to forget everything just because you're sorry now. You made your choice. I'm making mine. There was a long silence on the other end. And I could hear the sound of him breathing heavily. I understand. He finally said. His voice defeated. But please just know we are here if you ever change your mind. I hung up the phone and sat there in the quiet of my apartment. Feeling a strange sense of relief for the first time in my life. I felt like I was truly free. It's been a year now since that last conversation. My parents have tried to contact me a few times. But I've stayed firm. I'm not going to let them back into my life. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Over the past year, I've been building something for myself. Something that will ensure I never have to rely on anyone again. My income is growing steadily. And in a few more months, I'll be at the point where I can truly call myself financially independent. And to be honest, a part of me knows that when they find out I've gotten to that point, they'll come knocking again. But this time I won't be there. So, Reddit. What do you think? Am I wrong for refusing to help them? I'm honestly torn between feeling like I did the right thing and feeling guilty about leaving them behind. It's hard because they're family. But after everything, I just don't know if I can forgive them. Let me know your thoughts.